14, right? No, it's not right. I can't do math in my head. Alright, hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Jocelyn Reads. Today, I am Boo Boo the Fool, period. Today is Sunday, June 30th, and I have to have a TBR up for the Bookie Trials, or the Book Junkie Trials, by tomorrow, July 1st. So here I am, sitting here, filming my TBR the day before. Who's surprised? I'm not. I always leave things to the last minute, so we're just gonna get into it. So the Book Junkie Trials was created by Rachel Marie. I'll link her channel and her video explaining the readathon down below, and it's July 1st, so maybe you can write a TBR real quick and jump on in. That's what I would do. I'm last minute like that. So I'm actually Team Scribe, and each team has a strength and a weakness, as well as a set number of prompts for their TBR. So the strength of a scribe is that we can actually change our TBR, which is perfect for me because I'm a mood reader, so that's what took me so long to even make this TBR. Is it's really hard for me to make TBRs. Like, I never stick to them, so I don't like making them because I feel like I'm wasting my time. But for this one, I really do want to try to stick to my TBR because it's kind of the point of the readathon, even though my strength is that I can change my TBR. So yeah, there's that. And I think my weakness is that I have to read a book over 500 pages, and that's not an extra prompt, but I can just include it in the prompts that I'm doing. So I'm going to start off by telling you my assigned TBR as a scribe, and then I'm going to tell you the TBR that I have planned for the rest of the readathon, because if you do complete all the other prompts besides the ones that are assigned to your set team, you get some type of advantage in 2020. And I want an advantage in 2020, so I'm going to aim to complete those prompts too. I'm not sure if I will. I feel like Boo Boo the Fool even writing down that I will and putting it in this video, but I'm going to try, and hopefully this can help me hold myself accountable a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the first prompt as a scribe is to go to Dwarf Mountain, and that means to read a book with a hint of romance. So for this prompt, I chose to read The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I'm pretty sure there's some type of gay romance in this book, but I haven't read this yet, and I think this qualifies as something with a hint of romance because I don't think the whole book is focused on the romance. This book basically follows Hazel and Ben, brother and sister, and they live in this, I guess, town or village called Fairfield, where humans and fairies live side by side, and there's all these stories about fairies and humans, and I guess there's this one myth about a horned boy, a prince, that can't wake up, and he's in this glass coffin, but apparently he does wake up in this book. I don't know if that's exactly what this is about because the synopsis is kind of vague, but that's what I got from it. I want to read all of Holly Black's works this year. I've already mentioned that in another video, so this is going to go ahead and help me get through that. So the next place that you have to go as a scribe is to the Apothecary Towers, and for that you have to pick up a random book off your shelves, I guess, or your TBR. So I just closed my eyes and pointed to a book, and I got Sorce of Thorns by Margit Rogerson. I probably could have done something better, like actually done like a random number generator, but hey, this was easy. Just pointed to a book. Got this one. I'm actually really excited that I got this one because I've been wanting to read this ever since I picked it up. I picked it up immediately. It has so much hype, and I just heard nothing but good things about this. It makes me also want to read an Enchantment of Ravens because I know Cindy from Read with Cindy talks about that book, and I like the way that she described it. So yeah, hopefully if I like this, I'm going to go ahead and pick up an Enchantment of Ravens also. From what I know, this book is about a girl named Elizabeth who grows up in some type of a library that I think her goal is to protect the kingdom from some type of monsters that exist within their world, but somehow one of these monsters get out and she's implicated in it somehow, and she gets torn away from her home, and she has to go to her sworn enemy, a different sorcerer named, I'm pretty sure, like Nathan. And yeah, that's pretty much all I know about this. I'm not exactly sure. I try to go to my books without reading the synopsis completely, so that's why I always come to my TBRs, which, well, I don't have that many TBRs because I don't like making them, but that's why I come to these videos with little information on what the book's actually about. I just prefer going into my books blind. So next place you have to go as a scribe is the Great Library, and for that you pick a book that's been on your TBR forever, and I picked Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo because I've been wanting to read this series since I read Six of Crows. I think going on maybe 2 or 3 years ago I read Six of Crows, and I did pick up Shadow and Bone maybe in February or March, and I read like one page of Siege and Storm and then put it down. So I really need to go ahead and get through this because I made a deal with myself. If I read the whole series of this, then I can buy the collector's edition of Six of Crows. And I want it badly, so like, I'll have no one to blame but myself if I don't get it. This is just a continuation in the Grisha trilogy. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what the Grisha trilogy is about. A girl named Melina, the Darkling, and Mal. Like, those names are notorious on book Twitter. So yeah, I'm not going to explain this just because it's the second book in the series. So the last place that you need to go to as a scribe is the Drowning Deep. And for this one, you have to pick a book with rich world building. So I picked The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. I'm not sure if I said that right, but when I talk about it in my vlog this month, I'll be sure to research how to say that last name. So yes, I've heard about this a lot on book Twitter. I've just heard about how this book is so well written, and the author really does just do a great job in building the world. So I really am excited to get into this. I think the cover's gorgeous, and yeah. So the last book that I think you have to read as a scribe, even though it's set in the TBR of an outlaw, I'm pretty sure everyone has to do the Bookie Grail because it's the group book. The group book is actually Stardust by Neil Gaiman. So if you weren't able to get your hands on Stardust by Neil Gaiman, you're able to replace it with a book with an adventure trying to find something lost. I wasn't able to get my hands on Stardust by Neil Gaiman just because I wanted to use this readathon to get books off my physical TBR and books that I've owned, just because that's what I'm trying to do this summer. So instead, I picked Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor because this book is all about Laszlo Strange trying to find a lost town of Weep. I think he has to find Weep by finding out its real name because it's not actually called Weep. And yeah, that's pretty much all I know about this book. I don't want to know anymore just because I heard it's really whimsical and I want to be surprised as I read it. I'm really excited to finally get into this book because I've heard nothing but good things. Well, I've heard a couple of not necessarily bad things, but just people who couldn't get into the book. But I hope that I'm one of the people who actually stands this series so much. The way people talk about this series makes me want to feel that same exact way. So those are all the books that I need to read as a scribe, and those are my top priority. I'm going to read those first before I go into the other challenges and hopefully complete all of those as well. So now I'm going to go through each other occupation or like team and then tell you what I picked for my books for those. So I'm not really going to go into the synopses of these just because I think there's like 12, 13 other books. I'm not sure. I'm math. 14, right? No, it's not right. I can't do math in my head. So I'm going to go into Outlaw next. So for that challenge, it's called Crimson Peaks, the first one. And for that, you have to reread a fave. And I'm going to go ahead and reread The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren because I actually want to reread it and tab it this time. Just because I didn't tab it the first go around because I don't really tab my contemporary books because it would just all be pink tabs for romance. But I love this so much and I want to look at my favorite book and see it tabbed. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop saying I'm excited for things because I say it so much. So that's my last time for this video saying I'm excited. But I don't think it's going to be, but I'm going to try. The next challenge for an outlaw is called Queendom Stone, and for this, you have to read a book that includes royalty in some aspect. So I picked Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I did start this a little bit, like, at the beginning of this month, but I really did not get far at all. So I'm going to restart it for this readathon and read the whole thing. This book features royalty and the name one, and Dorian, one of the main characters, is a prince. If you don't know, this is part of the Throne of Glass series. It's the second book. I read Throne of Glass, I think, last month? No, I think I read it at the beginning of June. Yeah, I think I read Throne of Glass in the beginning of June, and I'm trying to just get through the whole series this summer, hopefully. I really like her other series, ACOTAR, so I want to be a stan for Throne of Glass as well. The next place that you have to go as an outlaw is the Forgotten Forest, and for that you have to read a book that's the next in the series. So I'm going to go ahead and follow that up with Air of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. It's the next book after Crown of Midnight. I want to read the series. This is the perfect prompt to just throw this one in there and get it done. I'm kind of nervous because this book is so big, and I have a lot of books to read this month. But like, I'm just gonna have to read as fast as I can and as much as I can. And luckily I have all next week off of work, so this should get done. Next place that you go is Weeping Falls, and for this you have to read a book that's a tearjerker. I'm gonna read A Heart and a Body in the World by Deb Coletti. I've heard everyone who reads this book cries. This girl runs cross country after, not cross country, but literally across the country after experiencing some type of trauma. You go in this book not knowing what the trauma is, and I heard it just makes you cry. There's literally a person crying on the cover. I'm scared. So the last challenge as an outlaw is also called Bookie Grail. I already talked about that when I'm doing Strange the Dreamer. So the next team that exists is Mage, and the first prompt for that is Orc Grove. For that you have to read a book that's gruesome or gritty. And for that, I'm picking up Nevernight by J. Kristoff. I've been meaning to read this forever. I love J. Kristoff's work, his sarcasm, his wit, his top-notch shmee, chef's kiss quality. I love it so much. I've heard nothing but good things about this book, especially from Mia Rose Reads. She read this in a reading vlog and talked about it in her wrap-up, and she just makes this book sound so good. Next, as a mage, you have to go to Old Private Cove, and for that you have to read a book that's set at sea. I want to read To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandre Cristo. I think I've heard a bit of mixed opinions about this, but mostly I've heard good things. All that I know about this book really is that it features mermaids, and I think maybe killer mermaids. So that sounds really interesting to me, and it's right up my alley. So the next prompt as a mage is called Glimmer, and you have to read a book with a beautiful cover or a colorful book. And I picked a book with a beautiful cover. I'm going to read Skyward by Sanderson. I'm just realizing that all these books that I'm putting up are really big. I'm terrified. I don't know who I thought I was picking these books for my TBR, but luckily I'm a scribe and can change my TBR. So yeah, right now I want to pick up Skyward by Sanderson because I've literally been wanting to read this book since I think March. I think I picked it up in March. So yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about Sanderson's writing, and especially this one. I've heard a lot of good things about this. The only thing that I really know about this book is this girl wants to be a pilot, but her dad was also a pilot. I think he's dead now, but he was somehow labeled a coward. So that puts like a bad stigma around her and her venture to be a pilot. And yeah, that's all I know. All right, the next place is Draconic. I know for sure I'm pronouncing that wrong somehow. But yeah, it's a book that includes dragons. And I'm going to read Test of the Road by Rachel Hartman. I've been wanting to read this book ever since I heard My Reading is Odd Natasha talk about this a really long time ago. I don't know why I'm so fascinated by it. I think it's because I haven't read that many books about dragons. I really like this cover too. I don't know, I'm just drawn to this book. So that was all of the challenges that you complete as a mage. And now the last team that you can be on is called a bard. The first challenge that a bard has to complete is called Elven Guard. And you have to read a book that's like military or political in some sense. So I picked the book Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I'm pretty sure this is political. I know it's an adult fantasy, and I mostly picked up this book. This is still the receipt from when I picked it up from the last bookstore when I went to Y'all West, and I picked it up mostly because of Celestial from Lemon Lads. Oh, Lemon Lads, and my shirt has lemons. This whole video should be dedicated to them. But yeah, I'll link her channel down below. She shares it with her best friend Nikki, and they kind of travel the country. I actually have no idea what this book is about besides the fact that it's an adult fantasy, and I kind of want to keep it that way. So the next place that you go is Hollow Isle, and you have to read an atmospheric or horror book. I really wasn't sure what to pick for this because I don't really own a lot of horror books at all. And I have more of thrillers, not really horror. And I don't really know which books on my shelves are atmospheric, to be honest. So I peeked at some other people's TBRs, and I finally saw someone put a book that I actually own. So I copied them. I did This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. I just finished reading The Vicious Duology by V.E. Schwab, the same person, just when she writes as V.E. Schwab, it's adult, and when she writes as Victoria Schwab, it's YA. So I really know that I love her writing, and I'm excited to read something else by her, especially going from her adult series to a young adult series. I know Shauna from Shauna Banana Reads said she didn't really like this series, but I'm going to go into it with clear expectations and just see how I feel as I go. The next challenge as a bard is called Empty Barrel Inn, and you have to read an indulgent read. So Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. I'm definitely reading this in July. I'm reading it with Mel to the Innie. It's going to be a buddy read. I'm so excited. One, because Christina Lauren is my favorite author duo, and two, because Melanie is one of my favorite friends ever, one of my favorite booktubers, and I'm just so honored to be reading with her. Like, what did I do to deserve this? I don't know, but I'm forever grateful. And last, but definitely not least, it's actually the greatest book ever, and I'm scared to hold it up because I held this up for a thumbnail before and my arm got so tired. But the last challenge as a bard is called Giant Squid. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Giant Squit. And you have to read a book that intimidates you. And this is perfect for my TBR because I have to read a book over 500 pages, which I'm sure one of those other books is over 500 pages, like probably Air of Fire. But why don't I just go ahead and throw this monster in there? I've been wanting to read it forever. So I'm reading The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I've been wanting to read this since literally I think March as well. So it's time for me to pick it up. I'm scared, like, even sitting here and pretending to read it, like, my arm hurts. Like, I'm not being dramatic. But yeah, I want to read this, and I'm determined to read this in July. So like, I need to read this in July. That's all I'm saying. So yes, I kind of feel like Boo Boo the Fool, as I mentioned before, after holding up all those books, and a lot of them were big and saying I'm going to read them all in July, but like, go big or go home, I guess. I think I'm going to end up going home, but I'm trying, and I'm going to hopefully pick up all these books in July, and hopefully you can see me being accomplished and succeeding in my July wrap-up, and we'll see how I do. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you guys in my next one, and like, comment, subscribe, and do all that stuff, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!